Does that mean Bloodraven would have to be, like, the Speaker of the House?
He's Russia tampering with the votes. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Glass Candle Podcast, where we look at what is, what could be, and what will come in A Song of Ice and Fire. I haven't done that line in a couple episodes, right?
And it bothered me. You didn't do it in the last one, and that's why, like, when you introduced yourself, I edited out the lag, but there was a super lag, because I was waiting.
I always thought it was weird that I'm like, come on, that's your cue.
I know, I was just sitting here, I was like, oh, I'm Lillian, because I was waiting for the tagline.
Every time I forget it, I'm always like, why is Lillian wrong right now?
Not my fault.
Every single time. I'm like, jeez, like, we do this every time. Except we don't, because I always mess up. Anyway, my name's Eric.
And I'm Lillian, and we admin over at the A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones Discussions and Theories Facebook group.
ASOIAF/GOT Discussions and Theories. Don't search out the long form of it.
Because apparently it doesn't come up.
If you're in the fandom and listening to this, then you know everything's all about acronyms anyway. So today we're continuing on with our The Clash of Kings POV read-through with Catelyn Chapter 4. The episode format, as always, I'm going to give a quick chapter summary. We're going to discuss who the main character is. We'll figure out who had the biggest influence over the character and why. Knowing how the future plays out, we try to figure any alternative actions that the POV character could have taken to avoid the result that we know happens. We take a look at how the events of this chapter affects the other plots and other characters moving forward. We select a different point of view to view the events of this chapter from, and then we'll close out with quotes, which I shouldn't say close out with quotes, because quotes takes up like the majority of our episodes.
It is. It's the longest
I've come to find out. Which kind of sucks, because I was just like, oh yeah, I have all these other questions that'll make up the bulk of everything, and we always go through those pretty quick. But whatever, I guess my questions aren't that good. Quotes, standout appearances, and then theories that apply. I didn't have any theories.
I don't know.
You listen to like other people, and they find theories and shit like with every fucking chapter there is, and I just read through this like, well, there was nothing in that one.
I think I wrote down something about the shadow, but whatever.
I mean, like, there's a lot of possible alliterations that Catelyn goes through when she's in the Sept. I don't know, like, how
that's just not us. We don't think that way.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a negative way. There's way too many theories in this stupid book series, anyway.
You're gonna cut all that out.
Nope, it's all gonna stay in. Anyway, here is our summary of Cat 5, or my summary at least. So we open
4.
Cat 4. That's what I said. Why did you say it was 5?
Uh-huh.
It's Clash of Kings, Catelyn Chapter 4. So we open with Cat at a Sept praying to the 7 gods. She goes to each in turn and has reflections on each one. Notably, she pauses on the warrior first. She sees many of the main male characters that we know in his face, like this crude charcoal sketch drawing. And then even Arya, which kind of stood out with all the other dudes she sees. She's Jaime, Jon, Robert Baratheon, Renly, and then she like tags Arya in there too. At the mother, she thinks of Cersei and wonders how alike they are.
How long is your fucking summary if this is what you're starting with?
I'm not reading everything. I'm adding in bits.
Sounds like it.
It's going to be longer the more you interrupt me too. So at the mother, she thinks of Cersei and wonders how alike they are in terms of protecting their children. The Red Ranger, Robar Royce, picks her up and they go back to the camp. At Renly's tent, Brienne is lacing him up while Tarly and Rowan talk strategy. Cat gains an audience and voices the plan that I mentioned last week or a couple weeks ago about the Great Council thing.
Grand Council. You called it the Grand Council last week.
Yeah, so She voices the plan I mentioned in last week's episode with the Great Council. Renly has made up his mind and is set on respectful war with Stannis. That's an important point to him. It's got to be a chivalrous victory. However, a cold wind catches, and Cat sees a shadow open Renly's throat. 1 king down, 4 to go. Big B screams, and Yellow Ranger Emin Kui runs in with R4.
I thought he was
Yellow,
orange.
Bryce Karen is the orange.
Okay, fine.
She notes his big yellow armor and everything. So he's dressed all in yellow, so he's a Yellow Ranger. If he's the Orange Ranger, he should have orange armor. Yellow charge Brienne and others join in. Cat buys some time with R4 as the former Blue Ranger fights Koi. Cat KOs him from behind with a cheap shot. Cat is convinced that Satanis did the murder and flees with Brienne. She remembers his threat to Robb and shits herself. And that's where the chapter ends.
Satanis?
Yeah, Satanis.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
It's not an original name. I heard it from somewhere. I can't remember where, but yeah, at this point, sending shadow demons to go assassinate people, he's full on Satanis right now.
We don't know that that's what happened. And there's no proof that happened.
The proof is right there. The fucking shadow thing killed him. And anyway, it doesn't matter because Catelyn thinks it's Stannis, so she thinks, that's his nickname for her. Her nickname for him.
Do they have the devil in Westeros? They just have the stranger.
They have R'hllor.
That's not the devil. It's another god. Is the devil a god?
The Lord of Shadows, King of Shadows are his servants, breathed in fire. That sounds a little bit like Satan. Which is kind of like this whole point. There's the Great Other, and then there's the benevolent God, Lord of Shadows, who is, the bastion of fire.
So the Other is God?
No, there's the Great Other.
Yeah.
And then his enemy is R'hllor.
So are you saying the Great Other is God?
No, maybe. I don't know. Everything's kind of twisted up. You got to look at it like this. Like I said, R'hllor is the shadows are his servant, and fire is his champion. So he's the good guy. The good guy has shadows as servants. Or
are we going to the Bloodstone Emperor thing again?
No, I'm going off
how it can't be a good guy because he killed his wife.
I'm
so
going
R'hllor
off
can't be good because shadows fight for it. Sorry, your face.
You kept interrupting me. No, without getting into any weird theories about it, tied in Bloodstone Emperor, just R'hllor, the basic elementary understanding of R'hllor is this whole the Lord of Shadows, and he's covered in fire, and that doesn't sound like a good guy thing. Then you tie it in, he comes from Ashai, which is where Azor Ahai comes from, and Azor Ahai, the champion of Ashai, who believes in this devil god of shadows. When you start tying in all those pieces a little bit deeper in, then yeah, it gets fucking weird.
I just have a hard time thinking of the Great Other as God. Supposed to be a good god.
Maybe he's not a good god, and there's 2 bad guys.
I don't think he's a good god. I don't think that R'hllor, I don't think any of them are good. I don't know. I'm agnostic in general, so this is just weird.
None of them are good. They all have their own thing, but whether or not they're actually real, that's a whole other thing entirely. We know the old gods aren't real. Or, well, the old gods are dead children of the forest, but, the northern people don't think they're children. Yeah? They think it's some ethereal being or something like that, when really it's just dead elves. So I think that's kind of the same lines as with all the religions.
They're all dead elves?
They have... No, they're all the people have this grand concept of some benevolent higher being.
And then you got the little man behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's some immensely pathetic, dwarfed down version of the whole thing.
Oh, that's sad.
And people always say the Seven doesn't exist. The Seven is the true definite made up bullshit things. But I mean, I imagine there's some small grain of truth. Maybe they were 7 really nice rulers, or of old Andalos, back where they came from. Maybe they had this big council of 7 people that were really nice,
Yeah, they could be
And
based
then,
on historical people.
right, and then, like, their deeds became legend, and then they're like, pray to the mother who's dead now, but she was really good back in the day, and she did all this good stuff, so now she's a god.
Kind of like how people do sainthood in our world.
Yeah, yeah, they believe angels are real, which is the thing. So yeah, like where there might not be any like particular power in the seven, like they probably stems from like good teachings or something like that.
Well, that makes sense in comparison to our history, and then also with George's kind of his body of work. I don't think any of the gods are going to end up being real.
Yeah, if we go off this trend where
Was it
religion
Crossing
is just like
Dragon?
a it's everywhere really.
Well, I know, but that's like the story that focuses most on religion is like it's the sole point of that story is religion is a lie.
There's also a song for Leah
I
where
haven't read that one yet.
well, spoiler alert. Um, so they go to this planet where like everybody's committing suicide at like the exact same age, and then they find out it's because whenever they commit suicide, quote unquote, they're getting like eaten by like this giant monster, but their consciousness goes into a quote unquote heaven where they're
Okay.
all interconnected, and the main character's partner Leah, she like they're all telepaths and shit. So she like jumps into this like as like an outsider, and she's like, "Oh my god, it was like so amazing. It was like heaven." And I'm gonna go like get eaten by this monster now, so I can be perfectly happy in heaven. So like where there is like a confirmed afterlife in his story, the main character still like shuns it more or less. He's just like, nah, that's cool, but this is bullshit, and I don't think I like that. And it's definitely painted in a narrative that even with a confirmed afterlife, religion is still bad because it's taken like all these people and having like mind controlling them to commit suicide. This monster is just like tricking people into like eating them, but then their minds go off in a happy place or something.
Right, so we're supposed to be talking about Catelyn IV.
Point is, this whole all the religious stuff in A Song of Ice and Fire probably is not going to be good, whether it's real or not. It's not good. I think it's obvious for lore's not good. The drowned god doesn't seem like he's a good guy, a good thing. The Great Other is definitely painted as bad, but whether or not that's a real thing, I don't know. The Storm God is an asshole in-law. And then the old gods are dead tree people.
If you want to call them people, yeah. Isn't that
Your
like a thing?
racism,
I was gonna
your
say,
racism is showing.
isn't that a racist thing in Lord of the Rings? That they're less than people or something?
Who?
The elves or the dwarves or someone? Isn't that like a whole race war?
How much time do you have?
How much time do I gotta
So
cut
the
out?
the elves. How much time are you gonna cut out? Oh damn. No, the elves are the firstborn. Like they inherited the earth, and then the men came second. But in between the elves and the men, one of these other demigods created the dwarves because he's like, hey, that whole thing where the number one god Eru like created elves, that was cool. I'm gonna create my own people. So then he created them, and when he went to the main god to give him life, the main god was just like, what the fuck are you doing here, dude? Like you can't do this. And he's like, oh, sorry, I'll go kill him now. And he's like, wait, don't kill him. I'll give him life. And he's like, oh, yay! And then the dwarves happened.
And so that's why the elves look down on the dwarves?
The elves looked down on the dwarves because there was oh jeez, cry. So
Where does the
there was
racism come to play? That's what I'm wondering.
there was three jewels called the Silmarils that were made by the elves, and then the first big bad guy Melkor took them, and
I know who he is.
eventually the elves got one back, and this elf lived in a cave, and he hired dwarves like to come in there and like do stuff all the time. They had like a good trade working relationship with dwarves. So he's like, hey, I got this awesome badass jewel. I want you to put this in a necklace because then it'll be like super awesome. And the dwarves were like, sure, bro, we can do that. And then they did it. They put it in the necklace, and the dwarves were like, you know what? This is probably like our best thing that we've ever made, so we're gonna keep it. And the Elf King was just like, fuck that. This is mine, and I'm gonna keep it. And then the dwarves killed everybody and took it, which started off like the first massive race war and then the elves hunted them down and killed them and took it back.
Well, they deserved it. This episode has already gone on very many tangents, so yeah, there we go.
All right, so now as we shift back to A Song of Ice and Fire, a lesser work, a less interesting book series.
A less interesting book series that we talk about every single day, and that we spend hours doing this every week. You need to find a Lord of the Rings friend to do a podcast.
Good point. We're canceling the reread, and we're gonna do Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, Silmarillion stuff.
We are not. You can.
Well,
why would I do that?
No, this would be good. Like, I know everything, and then you're dumb, so you can read the books, and I'll explain everything to you.
Talk about second cat.
You're ignorant in the lore of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien. Not that you're dumb.
I knew
you're
enough to ask a question about the children of Hurin.
Hurin.
Whoever. I was close.
I know enough to pronounce his character's name wrong. Alright, so the main character of this chapter, who do you got?
I had it as Renly. The entire chapter is focused on him prepping for war and his death.
Yeah, I saw this kind of split in half. Definitely that second part is focusing on Renly. That's the main event of what happens. But that first part with Kat's religious reflections kind of stood out as like its own thing, not related to Renly at all. And that was definitely more Kat-centric. And then she kind of jumps out of that and then runs off to go see Renly die.
But how important is that, though? Like, even though we just had like this 10-minute conversation on religion, like, how important is it for us to know?
Well, seeing as we had a 10-minute conversation on religion before we even started, probably not very.
Okay.
But it's because the book series is largely character focused. I think it deserves recognition.
Okay.
And it is a main part of it. So I thought this was just going to be, and Catelyn walked into Renly's camp. I thought I was going to start off there, but the author
I forgot that it focused on her praying.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I read that, so
yeah.
Almost all the stuff is kind of relatively new. I'm like, oh yeah, Renly dies, and Brienne's there, and they accuse Brienne of killing him.
Oh, that's all you remembered?
Oh yeah, that Renly died, and Kat and Brienne were there, and yada yada yada.
I didn't remember. Well, we'll get to it in quotes. I think I wrote it down. I may not have, but I didn't remember her telling her people to cut people down if they tried to stop them.
Oh yeah, she was dead set on getting the fuck out.
Yeah, good for her.
All right, so who had the biggest influence over the POV character and why?
Are you asking me, or are you just
our
stating
listeners.
the question?
I
don't think they can converse with us right now.
All right, so because they can't talk, I will. So I had Cersei, and this largely stems from that first point, the like her religious reflections. She has Kat has this massive realization that her and Cersei aren't that different in terms of motherhood. Like, they do have that in common, but then Kat starts wondering, would I do the same things that she's doing? So I think it calls into, or it's having Kat question herself, if she's doing the right thing or not. Is she being a good mother? Is she not? Because she's similar to Cersei. So yeah, I had Kat sympathize with her in motherhood, and is driven to a new idea to try at negotiation. Oh yeah, so this whole Grand Council thing, whenever she's thinking about Cersei, that's when that idea pops into her head and drives her to go
Great
back to
Council.
Renly.
You did it again.
So she gets that idea, and then that's what makes her go back to Renly.
So for biggest influences on Kat, I had Brienne and Stannis. So Brienne basically influences Kat's course of action after Renly's death, basically making her get the fuck out of there. Because Kat wants to protect her for some reason, which I think is weird. And then Stannis influences her because just the thought of him scared the shit out of her. Because, she kind of imposes his face on that shadow, whether or not it was truly there. We have no way of knowing. But it scared her enough that she's really scared for her son now.
Why are you so quick to shoot down this whole Stannis was responsible for it?
He didn't know. Okay. This is gonna go into our whole argument on Rhaenyra and killing the kids. Stannis didn't put the hit out. Stannis didn't know.
How does that have anything to do with Rhaenyra?
Rhaenyra didn't know that Blood and Cheese were gonna kill the kids.
No, not them specifically, but she knew that. Like when Daemon was like, "Don't worry, like we'll kill him," and she can like sanction the hit. Like that's
No, she didn't. The timeline
that's entirely
doesn't,
different.
No, the timeline doesn't even work out that way. But anyways, we're talking about this. Stannis doesn't realize he had anything to do with it until after the fact. And so that's why I fight it when people are always like, "Oh, well, he killed his brother." Technically, yeah, he did, but he didn't like actively choose to or actively participate. We don't know if he told Mel to go do this or if Mel took it upon herself to use his life force and red voodoo to make this happen.
I mean, yeah, like he does say like he doesn't know, he doesn't remember, he didn't physically go into it. Like that's not debatable at all.
Well, people get it confused with the show because the show gave Renly Courtney Penrose's death, and so it's a clusterfuck of no. I don't blame Stannis. No.
What I think is that Mel didn't act completely independent of this whole thing. She wasn't just like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna do something about this." Next morning, "Hey Renly, guess what? I killed your brother."
Hey,
And he's
Stannis,
like, "Oh my
guess
God,
what?
why?" Yeah, hey, Stannis, guess what? And he's
I
just like, "Oh geez, why would you do that? I did not agree to this at all."
I think that would be.
She definitely told him, like, "I have the power to do this." And he was just like, he probably ground his teeth and said, "Do your duty," and then went to bed.
I don't see that. I
So
think
you think Stannis was completely blindsided by this whole thing?
I think that I'm not gonna have anything to talk about now in point 8.
Well, fair enough. We'll save it for then.
Well, I'm sure it's gonna keep coming up in all these discussion points, so it doesn't really matter if we do it now or then.
We'll do it then.
Okay.
So you said Brienne had a big influence on Cat?
Brienne and Stannis.
I think Brienne did anything to influence her.
I have written down, doesn't mean I understand what I wrote down. I have written down, she influenced Cat's course of action after Renly's death. So.
But she didn't?
Cat could have just ran out without her.
Right, but Brienne didn't influence Cat to do anything. Cat took control of that one. It's like, Brienne, you're going to follow me now.
I read and wrote this a couple days ago. I don't know what I meant. I must have had a reason for why I thought Brienne influenced her.
Yeah, I think it was the other way around. I think Cat influenced Brienne. Because Brienne was going to stay there and kill everybody. And cry over Renly. Like, hug his corpse and probably hump his leg or something.
That's disgusting.
But it's probably true, though.
Cry over him, yes. Hump him, no.
Last chance. So knowing how the future plays out, what should the POV character have done differently to avoid that result?
I've got
nothing.
First? I said she did all she could do. She was there to witness the death. Like, what difference could she have done? The other alternative action would be to stay there after he died, and she would have gotten herself killed or captured. I think she did the right thing.
I don't think she would have got killed at all.
If Loras cut down Robar and everybody else that was around once he saw Renly's body, you don't think he would kill Cat?
No.
Just for being in the room?
No.
Okay.
So that's what I put. Risk staying and declaring that Satanis did it in hopes to bring the Force to Broadside. Can't read my handwriting. So yeah, risk staying and declaring that Stannis did it in hopes to bring Renly's Force to Broadside.
Okay, because she can prove it.
Well,
hey, I saw this magic shadow, so now you have to come fight for my son.
What if, instead of saying Stannis, she was like, "Guys, it was Cersei. It was Tywin. He sent an assassin in here.
Where's the assassin?
He escaped. It's Brienne." Or if she's going to save Brienne. Brienne fought him, and
Brienne saved
punched her in the face. But it was an assassin, the same one who tried to kill my son Bran. See, you guys have to help me.
He's dead.
Who?
The one that tried to kill Bran.
They don't know that. Could have been another one. He had a partner.
Okay.
I'm saying, like, she could have,
She could have come up with a story.
yeah, she could have seized the opportunity to blame the Lannisters, which would make everybody hate her more. Maybe they'd find a reason. They'd be like, oh, she was totally unjustified blaming Tywin for Renly's death, even though Tywin himself is unjustified for destroying the Riverlands. But
Who are you
we're
talking about that would be judging her? Are you talking about us as readers or the people in the story?
readers.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, readers blame Catelyn for everything.
So how do the events of this chapter affect the other plots? So I said it's now the War of the Four Kings. We got one down. It sets up Brienne to join Cat's service. It sets up the Tyrells to join the Lannisters, and it reinforces there's no chance in hell of Stannis making alliance, truce, anything with anybody at all. He's done. He's out for himself, and this confirms it in Cat's eyes, and she thinks that Stannis killed Renly.
Yeah, a couple of things there that I pointed out. It gives Stan a real army, as opposed to the couple thousand that he had.
Can I question that? Or do you want me to wait?
Sure. Question it.
Well, because I think I might have put that in my quotes part too. Because Cat thinks of that Stannis' army has just grown. Why does it automatically go to Stannis? Like you just said that too, that his forces are going to grow. Why? Why couldn't they choose to go somewhere else? Like the Tyrells chose to go to the Lancers.
Sure, they could choose, but yeah, most of those people do join Stannis. That happens later on.
Is there anybody besides the Tyrells that don't join him?
Specifically, I don't know. I know they don't get, or he doesn't get all of them. I don't know how much of how many of the Reach people decide to hang back. How many of them go with him?
Oh, all
I
those
can't
made-up
recall.
houses. They probably didn't
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, which ones stay and which ones go, but he gives them enough to where Stannis thinks he can confidently take King's Landing, so I imagine a good bit. So yeah, it gives Stan a real army, but it also alienates the Tyrells, like you said. Brienne begins her service to Cat, like you said. This means Marjorie Tyrell is free to marry again. And this also means that Loras will never be happy ever again. Because when the sun sets, there is no candle that can replace it.
Poor
Whether or not he
Loras.
should have got over it, that's another thing, but he doesn't.
Okay,
What?
in the court between Renly's death and where the story currently is like a year and a half, 2 years. I guess
Yeah.
that's enough time to get over somebody you love, but still, like,
No, I didn't say I agree with that, but whether or not people think that he should have got over it doesn't matter because he doesn't.
people are cruel.
Yeah. So choose an alternative POV to view the events of this chapter fun. I picked R4, Red Ranger Robar Royce. So while Cat's at the Sept, like he's out there talking with Wendell Manderley. So it'd be curious to know like what that conversation was going to be like. And then when he brings Cat back to Ren's tent, he hangs out and talks with Ed McCoy for a minute. So again, like that could be an interesting conversation. And then what was his take or his point of view on Renly's death scene when he walks in and he's dead, and what's he thinking and all that. And then after they take off from the tent, what happens next?
Okay. I thought about him too. And then I also wrote down possibly Rowan or Tarly. I had a hard time with this. And then I said not Brienne because we already kind of know how that would go. She would just be sad over Renly the entire time. So that basically left me with having a Renly point of view to see if he was so self-absorbed that he didn't notice the weird shadows in the tent.
Okay, so you were saying that Renly was too vain to notice the shadow?
If he was so self-absorbed that he didn't notice the weird shadows.
Yeah.
Because Kat says...
Tomato, potato.
Well, Kat says specifically, like, she noticed, like, a breeze in the room or something, the flap opening, and then there were shadows, but the sword was different, and, Renly was he looking in a mirror when he was getting dressed?
No, I don't think so. I didn't say
remember
it.
specifically in the show he was, I think.
He was talking, and Cat barely noticed anything either.
Alright, how did Renly feel when he died besides cold?
How did he feel?
Well, if I'm trying to argue for my justification of wanting to see the
He
chapter through
was
him, all he
he
says is
was
cold.
well, he was confident that he was going to beat Stannis. Um, his mind was pretty much entirely set on that. Cat came in talking about the
The incest.
council idea,
The Great Council.
the Grand Great Council, and he completely dismissed that because succession
It would make him...
it wasn't his thing, like that. It wasn't something he cared about. So he was probably slightly annoyed that Cat came back asking for another thing, and he was just like, "Oh God, shut up." What his exact words were as he was dying? I know he says cold. Yeah, I know he says cold, but I mean, I don't remember what else he was saying, or if he did say anything else.
I don't think he did.
He left. My Lady do direwolves, vote on who leads the pack. Yeah, so he's like, time for talk is done, all this other nonsense. And then that's when Cat's like, I beg you, but the shadows come in and he gets stabbed in the throat. So yeah, he doesn't have... It all happens very quickly, and his mind is...
He gets stabbed in the throat?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yep.
Because it talks about his armor parting like cheesecloth. Is his neck armored?
Yeah, that's what a gorget is.
A gorget is your neck?
He had time to make a small thick gasp where the blood came gushing out of his throat.
You choke up blood doesn't mean you were stabbed in the neck.
The blood came gushing out of his throat. I read that. You want to Google what a gorget is, too. But blood came gushing out of his throat. Not metaphorically anatomically correct.
I thought you were trying to say inanimate.
It didn't come, from his throat out of his mouth. If that was the case, then it would say blood came gushing out of his mouth. Look up what a gorget is.
Hold on, I'm reading now.
I don't even know if I'm saying that word correctly.
A heartbeat before the steel of his gorget parted like cheesecloth beneath the shadow of the blade. Okay, for some reason I always thought maybe I'm thinking of the show. Fuck. Alright. I could have sworn he was stabbed through the back. Is that the show?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't watched that episode in a lot longer than I have since I read that chapter. I don't remember anything about the early parts of the show.
I remember very little, but I don't know.
You remember a lot. He was looking in the mirror, he got stabbed through the chest.
Well, maybe I'm making that up. I don't know.
Did you rewatch season 2 recently?
I don't even know what the fuck we've talked about in this episode.
You keep bringing it back to the TV show. So apparently we're doing a TV show episode review. So what was your best quote from episode whatever it was? How about the book then? What were your best quotes from this chapter in the book?
Quotes. Alright, so my first one is on 496. Oh, this is back when she's in the sept. Flickering torchlight danced across the walls, making the faces seem half alive, twisting them, changing them. The statues in the great septs of the cities wore the faces of the stonemasons had given them, but these charcoal scratchings were so crude they might be anyone. The father's face made her think of her own father, dying in his bed at Riverrun. The warrior was Renly and Stannis, Robb and Robert, Jaime Lannister and Jon Snow. She even glimpsed Arya in those lines just for an instant. I thought it was really funny that she thought of Jon, or that she saw Jon in that, considering how much she hates him. But then I also thought it was really cool how she sees Arya without even knowing, what's going on in Arya's life and what she's going to become.
Yeah, the interesting part for me was that Jon was lumped in with Jaime. So you can see Renly and Stannis. I get why they're connected. Yeah. Robb and Robert. Okay, they have the same name, yeah. And they're both warrior quote kings. And then Jaime Lannister and Jon Snow being grouped together. That's interesting to me, and I don't know why.
I was waiting for something.
I can't interpret that. I guess because she hates Jaime, right? Does she hate Jaime?
Well, yeah, she blames he threw this Bran out the window.
Does she know he did that?
it isn't confirmed until our last chapter of this book, but it's already in her head that he did it.
Okay. Um, I've never been a fan of this whole she hates Jon Snow. She hates
She
Ned
hates the
handling the
thought
situation of it.
she hates the thought of there being a bastard and that he is on the same level with her kids. We've had this discussion, you
Yeah.
know, but
So I don't think that she hates it on the same level as Jaime. Obviously, she dislikes both for entirely different reasons.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's just, it really kind of jumped out to me, like, Jaime and Jon. So
You should post
I don't
that.
know.
Figure
Maybe
out
smarter
why.
people than me can
I
figure
got
that out.
downvoted majorly in your bitter still post.
Oh yeah, you did.
Okay, I'm not ever writing anything in here.
I got downvoted a lot too. People kept downvoting me. But whatever, they're slowly trending up.
Oh, it's because we can't go against Bloodraven.
So I had that same line specifically pointing out Jaime and Jon. But then like the next sentence, and I just caught this just now. You hear some foreshadowing that happens later in the chapter. A gust of wind to the door made the torch sputter.
Mm-hmm.
Like that exact same thing happens right when Renly dies.
Yeah.
So cool. I think that the effect happens too quick to really pick up on it, unless you, I guess, read the chapter again and then you make a podcast and then you go point out quotes. You put that in there for that specific reference. George R. Martin is a genius. I pick up all kinds of new things every time I read it. So I'm 497. So this is when Kat's thinking about her mom, Lady Nanisa, and she thinks, I have come so many thousands of leagues, and for what? Who have I served? I have lost my daughters. Rob does not want me, and Brandon Rickham must surely think me a cold and unnatural mother. I was not even with Ned when he died. So she's having like this massive pity party right here, and for justifiable reasons.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to put in our trademark sarcasm in there.
Oh, well, I'm just... You get mad at me for talking any shit about her, so I was just making sure.
But yeah, and like this really digs down at what Catelyn's character is. How like everything she's doing, she's trying to save her family and like keep them alive and pull them away from whatever kind of war her 15-year-old kid thinks he can do, and everything else. And this kind of, to me, this debunks this whole Kat's evil and she's doing everything because she's evil and she hates people and whatever else they kind of want to come up with. This right here, this passage right here, she's only doing anything for her kids.
Yeah,
Well, the ones that are left alive.
everything. At this point, everybody's alive, except for Ned.
Well, she thinks that her daughters are gone. She doesn't know about Arya. Arya could be dead. She don't know. But yeah, you're right. Just Ned's the only one that's dead. But her whole reason for existing is to try and to save her kids.
Yes. Agreed.
So she's not evil. She's not evil.
Yeah.
Did I say she's not evil yet? She's not.
Alright, so my next one is on 500. So they're doing their war plans, and right before Renly dismisses them, he says, "See to your battles, my lord. Oh, and if Barristan Selmy is at my brother's side, I want him spared. There's been no word of Sir Barristan since Joffrey cast him out," Lord Rowan objected. "I know that old man. He needs a king to guard, or who is he? Yet he never came to me, and Lady Catelyn says he is now with Robb Stark at Riverrun. Where else but with Stannis?" I can't remember if we talked about this in the last episode or the episode before, but I feel like we recently talked about Barristan and why he didn't go to Stannis and all of that. So I think it still says a lot that it seems everybody wants him, like regardless of what side he was fighting for, they wanted him spared, or that was at least the feeling I got from it. So like if there would have been an actual battle, I feel like Stannis would have pardoned Barristan for serving Renly. And I think Renly would pardon him for serving Stannis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Renly definitely would because he said it here, and Stannis pardons everybody that joins his side. So yeah, that's fair. The part that points out to me, and I have this quote down too, he needs a king to guard, or who is he?
Yes.
And that is Barristan. Like, him entirely. everything about him, like because he's grown up, he was knighted and put in the Kingsguard, like what 20 or something like that.
He was young. Yeah.
Like, his whole life has been like, I need to guard a king, and really from his choice of king that he decided to enter service to, he doesn't have any kind of qualms about the kind of person that he's guarding. So yeah, like Barristan, because first of all, like he's a Kingsguard, he's sworn to protect his one king, and how many kings does he have to go through? And like he flip flops all the time too. So I don't think he really cares or considers like who he's guarding. Like he took his time to go hang out with Dany, fair enough, but that could have been just a not a rebound, but like going back to
rebound.
Yeah. It's like getting back with his ex, you know, because like he was with a Targaryen,
Yeah.
and then he failed, so he's just like, I'll just stay with Robert then, I guess, because I don't want to die yet. And then as soon as he got fired, he's like, well, I guess I'll just go back to the Targaryens.
Are you saying you think he should have not joined Robert? He should have left and found Viserys?
Well, first of all, I think, yeah, that's exactly right. He can't die, or he didn't die. He can't fight for Aerys, and then find out Aerys is dead, and is like, well, I'll swear to defend the king that was on the side against her. Like, that seems not right to me.
I could understand pardoning him and letting him like live out his life. I think the fact
Sure.
that he stayed
Robert's
on his
reason-
Kingsguard is really weird.
Robert's reason is totally justifiable. He's not going to kill a guy for doing his duty. Robert understands what the Kingsguard's about.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. So Robert
And Barristan
not
the Legend.
condemning him to die is fine. And Bobby was just like, hey, bro, if you want a job, like, I got you. And then Barry just accepted it like it was a job. So I have issues with that. I think he's also going to flip-flop from Dany to
Aegon.
Yeah, I think that's a thing he's going to do.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Because Aegon has a better claim.
I would think less of
assuming
him.
Aegon is Aegon, but everybody in the story thinks Aegon is Aegon. If
Yeah,
I were
Aegon
Barristan,
for the
I would
sake
go
of
with Aegon.
identifying this character.
Yes, not Fagon, Aegon.
Yeah. So I think, like, if Barristan does, like, I'll think lesser of him too.
Really?
Yeah, because he's sworn to defend Dany, and then he's gonna be like, oh, whoops, misjudged this one. Never mind, I'm out.
But, okay, so assuming he lives it through Marine, and if he sees that Dany is changing and has the Targ madness, would you look down on him for switching at that point?
Yep.
Okay. So you think...
Well, it depends on how.
So he
her,
sat there...
quote, madness manifests.
See, that's the thing. So he
It
sat
depends on how it
there
manifests.
and watched as Ares just went batshit crazy, raped Rhaella, and was just a terrible person.
Right, he's wrong.
If Dany's were to manifest in some way to where she was like torturing children or something crazy, do you think it would be okay for him then to abdicate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or to at least do something about it.
He would never kill her.
He should then if she's
Maybe lock
torturing.
her up.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fine. Like he doesn't have to kill her, but he has to do something.
Yeah.
Because all those Kingsguard under Ares were pieces of shit, as far as I'm concerned.
Careful what you say.
Like
Well, none of those people listen to us anyway, so it doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter. But for whoever is listening to us, I think they're all garbage people because they let that happen. And then after it happened, they still sided with him.
You were sworn to serve the king, not judge him.
Yeah, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
To me. Like, I get it, that's the parameters of that job, but
Still have
not,
morals and other...
It's not a good reason. Like, I was just
values.
following orders. It's not a valid reason. Jaime's the best one of them all. Because he actually did something. He was like, this is bullshit, and I don't care what you old white people are saying for me to do. I am gonna go against the system and take matters in my own hands and save everybody. So Barristan needs a king to guard us. Who is he? And that's perfectly appropriate to Barristan. Because he's nobody except the
That's
Kingsguard.
mean.
He's nobody
He's a
except the
nice
Kingsguard.
man. He is a nice old man. Sir Grandfather.
Nice old man. Was he nice when he was watching Rick and Brandon get burned alive?
He was nice when he broke
I bet
the
I
Manicore's head.
I bet he was very courteous and respectful when he was leading them from the prison to the Great Hall to get chained up and die.
Don't you think that experience changed him? Do you think if Robert
Uh,
would have pulled some shit like that, if he would have tolerated it the same as he did back then? I think he realized what he did was wrong, or his lack of action was wrong. Because doesn't he say something like that in
I'm
Dance?
I'm trying to remember like what he's thinking about in Dance, and I can't quite. I mean, he'd be a monster to not realize that he was wrong. Does he think that his best achievement of rescuing Ares from
Duskendale?
Duskendale is also like his worst moment personally, or is that just analysis that someone wrote?
I don't think. I have no idea. It
I can't
sounds good
remember.
to me though, but I have no idea.
But, yeah, I mean it is like his most daring accomplishment
He did
set
his job,
everybody
but
up to
he,
fucking die.
yeah,
So
basically.
poor Barry. So in 499, the Grey Army.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this is when Catelyn's walking back into Renly's camp. And this begins on 498. There were banners to her right, banners to her left, rank on rank of banners before her, but in the pre-dawn gloom, neither colors nor sigils could be discerned. The Grey Army, Catelyn thought, gray men on gray horses beneath gray banners. As they sat their horses waiting, friendly shadow knights, there you go, that's a trigger word, pointed their lances upwards as she rode through a forest of tall naked trees, bereft of leaves and life. Where Storm's End stood, there was only a deeper blackness, a wall of black through which no stars could shine, but she could see the torches moving across the fields where Lord Stannis had made his camp. So there's a couple of nice imagery going on right in here. For one, calling it a gray army, gray horses, gray banners, and shadow knights. It's a lot of. I've heard other people talk about this, so I'm just regurgitating like their takes. But that seems like a lot of other symbolism, kind of sort of thing, with shadow armies and shadow swords and gray armies and shit.
Okay.
I don't know what that means here, but I was like, hey, other people like this stuff, so I'm gonna mention it.
I thought for
But the
sure you were
part,
gonna do a Lord of the Rings reference, but okay.
I mean, kind of. There's, like, I don't think this is
Oh,
intended to be a Lord of the Rings reference. Coincidental similarity there, I guess. But Storm's End being in deeper darkness, where like no lights coming through except for torches. That's definitely more Satanist imagery.
okay.
Where the blackest black comes from Storm's End, where Stannis is at to murder Renly.
I don't know. It stood out to me as well, and I was trying to think of it. I didn't think of the others, but that does make sense. I was thinking of it as in terms of as she's gathering her army as Stoneheart. You know, everything is gray, basically. Everything is death. Everything. I just hate her as Stoneheart, so maybe that's why I just thought of that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. The tall naked trees bereft of leaves and life. That also kind of symbolizes winter, right?
Hmm.
Because in winter trees don't have leaves and everything is dead.
Yeah, so basically everything is dead, is what it's saying. Dead and ghosts and shadows.
Yeah. There, symbolism.
So on 501. So Kat's finally getting her FaceTime with Renly, and she's realized what Bran saw. And she says, Rob will set aside his crown if you and your brother will do the same, she said, hoping it was true. She would make it true if she must. Rob would listen to her even if his lords would not. Let the three of you call for a great council, such as the realm has not seen for 100 years. So just like what you were saying, your suggestion last episode, and also in your summary, just think it's funny because I think in the last episode we were having that argument on whether or not Rob would do that. And she's saying that Rob would or she would make him, and I don't know if she could make him, but
I'm your mother, young man. You listen to me.
but that was kind of my feeling on it last time too, was that if Rob knew the kids were bastards and knew how things actually were, I feel like he would support Stannis.
I mean, he should,
Well,
but
yeah,
I don't think he would.
because of people like the Greatjon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just Greatjon. I think he scares Rob.
Oh, he's so funny.
But yeah, to finish that whole paragraph out, it says, or Catelyn says, "Let the assembled lords of the Seven Kingdoms choose who shall rule them." So Catelyn, as early as Book 2, is campaigning for the president of Westeros, or the position, the cabinet of the president of Westeros, more or less.
Because that's how it works now in the North. Is it's a democracy and they vote.
Yeah. So really, maybe Greatjon is
Oh my God.
the one of the founding fathers of the United States of Westeros.
Greatjon's the most progressive thinking.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Shit, this might have to change my opinion on
That's
it.
crazy.
I mean, he does use intimidation tactics when campaigning for his own personal candidate. But then, I mean, you get into like the moral, immoral qualms of how to run a campaign. It's definitely crooked. Like, you vote for Rob, or I'm going to break your legs, kind of sort of thing. So,
Works.
but yeah, I mean, this idea must, like, it has to come from that chapter at the end of Game where Greatjon decides he wants to make Rob his king.
Yeah.
And then Catelyn comes here and he's like, "We'll have everybody vote." Yeah, the assembled rule. So maybe let the assembled lords of the Seven
The
Kingdoms.
Electoral
So I wonder,
College.
is she think? Oh yeah, they're not going to do a popular vote. That's nonsense. That'd be crazy. It'd be like what we were doing a couple episodes ago, where Stannis sends out the letters, and the Flea Bottom fandom is like, "Who the fuck? Who are these people?"
Yeah.
You know, Emmon Coy's gonna be like, "Vote for me," and I'm gonna be like, "What is this thing? Do these letters actually make a sound? Like, I don't know who this person is." So I'm wondering too, is she meaning like we get 7 candidates together, and then like we pick from the 7? Do we include the Ironborn just for the sake of parody, and like everybody gets a chance? Everybody's whispering, "Don't worry, no one's gonna vote for Balon," but we have to include him so he doesn't raid our coast. Or does she mean like everybody, like all the major houses and the major minor houses?
As claimants or voters?
Voters as part of this council.
I would assume, yeah, it's all major and minor.
Yeah, let the assembled lords of the Seven Kingdoms choose who shall rule them.
I would assume that's all major and minor, and that the claimants would be between the Baratheons.
Oh yeah, because this whole thing is, well, she's angling to be between the two of them.
Yeah. So, but for you to say, like,
but then
to vote for, is there going to be a write-in candidate of Emmon Coy?
Right. But I think once they get there, no one's going to be like, well, what if instead of these two, we add a third guy in? And then someone's going to add a fourth guy and a fifth guy, and then that's where we get Emmon Coy's claimant to the throne.
Oh, what the fuck is his name? Dolorous Ed at the wall? It's going to be that kind of situation?
He's forsworn. He can't do anything. What do you mean, Dollar said?
Didn't he nominate himself because everybody else was nominating a bunch of people to be Lord Commander?
No, someone kept nominating Ed, and he's like, "I don't know who the fuck keeps doing this, but guys, please stop."
I thought he was doing it to himself.
No, I thought it was like 3-fingered Hog that kept doing it.
Oh, I don't know, but
or somebody.
But
no, Ed was like, "Real funny, guys, but please, can you stop?"
I really thought he was doing it to himself.
I could be wrong. I doubt it.
Okay.
Who would your candidate be for president of Westeros?
Stannis.
So you're just gonna revert right back to feudalism?
Oh, we want an actual, like, democracy?
I mean, like, if everybody's gathering to vote on a king, or a ruler or whatever, if everybody available, you would still pick Stannis? I don't think he'd be the best one. Knowing what we know is coming, how everything's going to stay in the war for the next 100 years, for sure Stannis. But
Well, it depends on what you value to determine what is the best one.
He would outlaw all your favorite whorehouses.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It depends on what you value. Do you value the economic growth of your society? Do you value the societal norms of your society? What is it that you're looking for in a leader? That is what would determine who would be best.
I think it should be what you're looking for in your nation.
Same fucking shit, dude.
I mean, because obviously you want a good balance of political and social stability with economic and military growth at the same time. Like,
you want to make sure they're not going to nuke ET.
Yeah, I mean, obviously ET has nukes because this whole thing is sci-fi and it's a spaceship. But yeah, I mean, like, you want to have something on your intergalactic political spectrum, you know?
Does that mean Bloodraven would have to be, like, the Speaker of the House?
He's, like...
Since he's tapped into all the magic shit.
He's Russia tampering with the votes. He's in the winter, it's always cold up there. And,
oh my god.
You know.
Mind control. The puppets.
Putin is a telepath. Mm-hmm. So my thing... on 4.99. I think we might have another Power Ranger.
Okay.
So this is when Cat's coming back to Renly's tent. It says, 2 of the Rainbow Guards stood sentry at the door of the Royal Pavilion. The green light shone strangely against the purple plums of Sir Parman's surcoat. Purple Plum Parman is the Purple Ranger.
Who the fuck is Parman?
I don't know. Never heard of it. But yeah, so and Emmon is standing there with his enamel yellow plate. So Emmon Coy, Yellow Ranger.
Parman.
Sir Purple Plum Parman is the Purple Ranger.
I wonder if
I don't have a running list. We've talked about this fucking list for so many times.
Because in that one episode where it first came up, we got on the wiki and listed them all.
Yeah,
so the fact that it's the purple... Hold on. What does she exactly say? The purple plums.
Purple plums.
Now I'm thinking of Brown Ben Plum. Do you think they're related? Well, no, because Plum is his name, isn't it?
I don't know what Parman's name is, but I imagine it's Plum. And then Brown Ben Plum is a plum. And Plum is a Reach House. Or is it a Wester House? Is it a Wester House?
Dude, I don't know.
Parman Crane, also known as Parman the Purple, is a Knight of House Crane. He is named the King Renly's Rainbow Guard.
Okay,
so no, he is not
House
a plum.
Crane. All right, and House Plum is in the Westerlands. I looked them up.
So did he mean plumes? What the fuck? House Crane. Why is
sentry at the door to the royal?
Plums?
The green light shone strangely against the purple plums of Sir Parman's surcoat. Yeah, that's.
Why does he wear plums? I mean, it says it on the wiki. Parman wears purple plums on his surcoat. But the crane sigil is...
Isn't it a crane?
Yeah, it's 5 cranes and like a V. That's fucking weird.
I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those things
found
where
something.
George messed up. Alright, so Lore's commander is... Or Lore Sorrel is the Lord Commander. Robar's Red Ranger. Bryce Karen the orange. Him and Coy, yellow. Guyon Morrigan is the green. Brienne the blue. Parman the purple.
That's right, I remember, because when we were talking about this, I said I would be Parman, so I could be the Purple Ranger, because there was no Pink Ranger. Yes.
But he's a guy.
Well, I don't want to be blue, so purple is going to be it.
Renly set aside the blue cloak, and that was supposed to be for Barristan. Oh, I get Barristan the blue.
Oh!
All of them, except, like, Bryce Karen is the orange, which doesn't mix. And Emmon Kui is the yellow, which does not mix. But Robar the red, Gyard the green, Brienne the blue, Parman the purple. Alright, did you get another one?
Yes. So, and this is something we kind of talked about, too, right after your summary. On 505, it's all said and done. Her and her party are on her way out. And she's thinking to herself, they belong to Stannis now, she realized, even if they do not know it themselves yet. Where else are they to turn, if not to the last Baratheon? Stannis has won all with a single evil stroke. And we've already talked about this. I still think it's weird to assume that they would automatically all go to him.
Well, where else would they go?
People could have gone wherever the fuck they wanted to go.
True. I wasn't asking, like, as a wrong answer. Like, where else would they go?
Maybe they want to support the drowned god and they want to go support Balin. I don't know. They're secret squishers.
Okay, I see you've checked out. So I'm 500. Oh, we also get that neat little story about Stannis preparing to eat corpses during the siege.
Yep. He was going to feed baby Renly some nice corpse meat.
Yeah. Also, we misspoke last episode. We said that Renly was an infant during the siege, but apparently
he was just a young child.
Wasn't. Yeah, so he was old enough to know what was going on.
Yeah, and Stannis saved his life during that siege by keeping him safe and feeding him. But let's turn around and kill him because I want to be the shiny king. Fuck you, Renly.
That Stannis killed Renly. His poor innocent little brother who just didn't know any better, and Stannis
didn't know any better.
Well, that's what everyone says. Renly has no idea what's going on. His head is in the clouds. He doesn't really understand the situation.
He knew
but does
enough...
that not apply? Does that not fit your narrative now?
Oh, really? My narrative? Fit my narrative?
Yeah, your narrative of Renly, he just wanted to be the king, and you should have respected his brother.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, whenever Stannis kills Renly, it's, he knew what he was getting into. But at the same time, Renly just doesn't know what he's getting into. So, come on. Pick a side.
Renly knew what he was doing.
Did Stannis murder a giant idiot who didn't know what was going on, or did he kill a guy who was, like, a legitimate threat? Like, either you gotta give Renly props, or Stannis killed a mentally deficient boy, as people call him.
So, I think it was appropriate that he died, but I also think it's appropriate to call him a boy. Because, yeah,
He's male. You're right.
He wants to be king, and he knows what's happening, but the fact of the matter is, I still don't know that he wants it for the right reasons. I think he wants it just so he can be called a king, just like Sansa wants to be queen just so she can be a queen.
Sansa's 13, Renly's 21. So you're saying Renly has the
boys
mind of a 13-year-old?
Don't guys mature way later than girls do? Mentally?
Most 21-year-olds are mature.
Think about when you were in college, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about when you were in college.
I don't know, I hated people.
So you were obviously more mature. No, I mean, you gotta pick a side. Either Renly understood what he was doing, and you have to give him props that he was a leader with vision and goals, or he had no idea what was going on, and Stannis killed a guy who just had no clue what was happening.
Fine.
And that's less me talking to you and talking to the fandom.
Okay, well...
Because they like to have both ways.
I'm gonna go with the first part. That he knew what he was doing. But he was still wrong.
Yeah, he was wrong.
Okay.
I've been saying for the last month that Renly deserves more recognition for his abilities. I still will argue with you that, quote, right reasons. No one had the right reasons. Everybody wanted to be the king. Stannis had it because of his legitimate birthright.
Yes.
But, again, we talked about it last week, how it's virtually unprovable. So it's more well, I want this. This should be me.
Yeah.
Except for Rob. Rob is I didn't want this. The big guy made me do it.
The big guy.
It's a big guy. So anyway, my quote. Renly says, "When my brother falls, see that no insult is done to his corpse. He is my own blood. I will not have his head paraded around on a spear." So, Renly wasn't entirely savage about it. He's like, when he dies, don't do anything bad to him. He's still my brother. We just disagree about this little thing, so he has to die.
My question on that is, he is assuming that Stannis is going to die in battle.
Yep.
So he's assuming Stannis is going to be in battle and engage in battle.
Yeah.
But he's not man enough to do it himself?
Who?
Renly.
Renly's leading the right flank. He's going to be in battle too.
I don't know.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's rather presumptuous of him to think that someone's going to kill Stannis in battle and he's not going to die in battle.
Wouldn't you rather address it just in case you don't meet him on the field?
I guess so, but if you're dead, does it matter?
Because if he didn't say it, and then he wins, and Randall Tarly kills Stannis and chops his head off and parades it on a spear, Renly's gonna be like, I guess I should have, and everybody's gonna get mad at him, like, you should have told him not to do that. That was your brother.
I think
But because
Tarly's
he's
a bad
saying it-
example.
Because he's saying it here, fair enough. The soldier number 43 of Alpha Company, 2nd Platoon. But because he says it here, it means he's a coward, and that he's not going to do it himself. He's covering his bases.
I can see where you're coming from. I just think Stannis is more of a warrior than Renly is, which I think we already know. So
Stannis wouldn't even compete in jousts.
Joust is fucking riding a horse and pointing a stick.
Yeah.
That's fucking nothing. Anybody can sit on a horse and point a stick.
That's not true.
In comparison to like combat, they're two completely different things. We've had this argument before.
They are completely different, but they the skills of jousting still translate to war, because you're going to be riding a horse pointing a stick at somebody, and then you just stab them and they die.
Okay, I get that. The skill set transfers. Okay.
So Renly has more experience charging as a member of a cavalry than Stannis does.
So I don't know how.
If Stannis and Renly jousted each other, Renly would win every time.
I don't know.
Stannis is mostly a lead from the rear kind of guy. Like, he's never been known for like his personal sword swinging skill.
Yeah.
To be fair, Renly isn't either, but Stannis is like 15 years older than him or whatever.
Okay.
So it's just the same thing, like, we'll have to ask that to the group, like, who is the better individual fighter?
Between Stannis and Renly?
Yeah. I don't think there's enough to go on either.
There isn't any evidence of that. It's all speculation.
Alright, so on to the next one, standout appearances.
So I had Robar. He stood out to me because, so we get at the end of the last chapter, him and Kat talk a little bit about how neither of them belong there. They're kind of out of place. And so he stood out to me in this chapter because we don't know of any personal history between the two of them. They just know of each other. And basically, on her, just by her saying, you know, on my honor as a Stark and on Ned's grave, I promise, you know, Brienne didn't do this, save her. He really goes out on a limb for her.
Oh, yeah. He really does.
He knew nothing of her, and he took her word.
A lot of good it didn't.
Yeah.
Because he dies.
Spoiler for anybody that doesn't know, Loras goes on a rage and just kills everybody in the tent.
So my standout was Brienne, the former Blue Ranger. And only because of what she does at the very end. So she's quick to action. Emma Coy comes in there, and she's immediately like, this guy's gonna fuck me up. She doesn't have armor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was reading that. Emma Coy's in his full plate.
Yeah.
And she beats the piss out of at least two dudes, and still holds off Emmon before Cat blindsides him. But yeah, like, she fended him off with Renly's own sword. So quick thinking, quick action, and yeah, I was like, all right, there you go. That was good. Probably the only time Brienne's gonna stand out to me. She is not my favorite character.
Why are you so mean to her?
She's boring. She fails at everything she does.
Okay, and?
But it's like she fails, but she doesn't. She fails without like exerting a ton of effort. Only at the very end of Dance, when Roar's just like he's eating her face.
Does she realize that she's a failure?
Well, no,
what you're saying?
That's the only scene where it really jumped out at me. Like, she takes Dick Crab all the way, or Dick Crab takes her all the way out to the fucking Cracklaw Point, and then she does that whole thing where it's like, it's her first kill, so I guess it's a big emotional moment for her, but I just don't connect with the character at all.
I feel bad for her.
I just don't connect with her. She's also, like, so obvious in her search for Sansa that everyone, like,
looking for a mate of 3 and 10. Yeah.
Everyone's just like, yeah, I'm looking for Sansa too. And she's like, what? I didn't. Who's Sansa? I don't.
Looking for a mate 3 of 10 who might be with a fool. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did they look the same? What is Sansa's red hair too? I had no idea. Oh my god! It's like, oh shit,
Who
Brienne,
are
like
the
no one's fooled.
Starks?
What's a Stark? What is
Never
that?
heard of it.
So yeah, like I don't know. She's a nice person though. She's nice.
So something that jumped out at me, and I can't remember, but I'm sure we'll get to it whenever we get through Storm. She has Renly's sword on her, and she vows to kill Stannis with Renly's sword. Obviously, that's not how it happened in the show. She killed Stannis with Oathkeeper. So does she lose Renly's sword at some point? Like, I can see them taking it from her at Harrenhal. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it after I read that. And yes, I brought it back to the show again. Holy fuck.
I don't know what happens to the sword. Theories. These are last and final one. Our most exciting point. Wait till you guys hear this. Lillian's got a good one. What's up?
Stop making fun of me.
I'm not. I was just hyping up because I didn't think you had one.
I don't really have...
the Satanist thing with.
Yeah,
whatever.
like just having that argument in general with people. So we see that through Cat's eyes, we see that Renly is dead. Renly is killed by some type of shadow. That's basically the extent we have of it right now, and that Cat believes Stannis was behind it, and she thinks that she saw Stannis' face in the shadow.
Yep.
Just from that alone, from what we know right now, that's what we know.
Pure coincidence.
She is a crazy lady who saw the man who threatened to kill her son shadow kill the other man who threatened to kill her son. That's what we know.
And you think that's a big fat lie?
No, that's not what I'm saying. My issue with it is that, again, I'm going to bring up the fucking show. People confuse the show and the book.
Jesus Christ.
I am sorry. But in terms of how this death happened, I think a lot of people confuse it because in the show it's clearly shown that Stannis is killed via shadow baby, which is not what happens here. And that people...
I mean, it could be a shadow baby.
It could be a shadow baby, and we just don't know that he fucked Mel. Yeah, that's possible. But later on in the story, when we have, I think it's in a Davos chapter, when Stannis is talking about, I'll go to my grave thinking about my brother's Peach and how he felt like the life force was sucked out of him. Just all of these things to me that tell me Mel probably used him in some way to do it. Yes, I believe that. But I don't think he knew of it beforehand. I don't think he knew that that's what was going to happen. So that's just my opinion.
Is there a reason you think that?
Because the way he speaks about it, how he was asleep throughout the whole night, like...
You don't think that's just him trying to justify it to himself?
No, I really don't think that he is such a black and white man, and...
Well, he's white.
Oh, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of justice and things like that. He knew he was going to have to kill his brother in order for this to be done and over with, but I think the idea of kinslaying wasn't what he wanted.
But he did. He was prepared to kinslay.
I know, because he had to.
So by doing this, he's
but
like, I didn't do it. Again, I don't think he knew the gory details. I think Mel was like, I have power to take care of this. And he grit his teeth, and he was just like, ugh, and grunted, and then went to bed. And Mel's like, I'll take that as a yes. And then she farted out a shadow and went and killed Renly.
She farted
and afterward, she was just like, did it, he's dead. And he was just like, oh, darn you, Mel.
I could see her having...
Now we don't have to fight a massive losing battle. Dang it.
I could see her having a conversation with Selyse, because Selyse is, like, so up her ass on R'hllor. And Selyse being like, yeah, do whatever you have to do, R'hllor.
Isn't Selyse on Dragonstone?
Is she right now?
Why would he bring Selyse with him?
Oh, probably. Fuck, I don't know. But still, my point being, like, Selyse is the one that kind of brought Melisandre into the camp. You know what I'm saying? Into Stannis' camp, and she's the one that's fully embraced R'hllor and everything. I
didn't think Selyse brought her. Selyse converted after Mel got there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is Selyse was the one that accepted her, and by
Okay.
Selyse accepting her, it became kind of like a normal thing to do on
Okay.
Dragonstone, is
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
meant.
yeah, yeah.
Not that she
I got you.
physically brought her there.
I got you.
Um,
I got you.
but I feel like, okay, so if Selyse isn't there, if Selyse is on Dragonstone, maybe Mel had that conversation before they left Dragonstone that because Selyse fully believes in her powers, that,
Jumping through hoops now.
R'hllor gives me the power to.
Before they left, Selyse was like, "You should assassinate Renly." Like, for sure, Mel probably acted a bit on her own. Stannis is confused, so I don't think he knew the exact specificity of what Mel was going to do, but he did have an idea. He knew Melisandre was going to solve his problem. And you're just like, go ahead, show me, or demonstrate your power. Which,
So if he passively kind of greenlit it, is it his fault? Because Mel
yeah,
took it upon herself to do it, but she did it on his
yeah,
behalf.
there's still a certain amount of blame that goes to Stannis. Just like there's a thread on, I think it was the History of Westeros Facebook group, asking how much blame do you put on Davos for Courtney Penrose's death, and I was like, you got to put a bunch on it because that doesn't happen if Davos
He
doesn't
doesn't
vote her
row her
down
out
under
there.
there.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, he didn't know what he was like. What the fuck did Davos think she was gonna do? Like, Davos, here, you're gonna take Melisandre, you're gonna smuggle her ass underneath Storm's End because there's magical barriers, so we have to get underneath and inside the barriers, and then just don't worry about it. And Davos is like, no, like if he doesn't do that, and it's specified that Davos is like so great a boatsman, a sailor, that only he can navigate those waters to do in there. If he doesn't do it, then Mel doesn't get in there and assassinate Courtney Penrose in that particular way.
They don't get Storm's End and Edric.
So, like I said, I don't know. I'm not well versed in legal terminology, so I don't know if that's considered second-degree murder. But like, he drove the car for the assassin to sneak in and shoot somebody in the face, and then he drove the car away. So whatever guilt you pin on like the getaway driver is what Davos gets in that. Whether he knew about it or not, he still facilitated the assassination. So whether Stannis knew what was going to happen or not, he facilitated the action of it happening. So he's not entirely blameless at all.
I think my biggest issue with it is that people call it a shadow baby, and it wasn't a shadow baby that we know of. It could have been, but we don't know. And that it just pisses me off because he hasn't fucked her that we know of yet.
So, like, maybe they are entirely correct, but that pisses me off.
He would not do that.
I think it's irrelevant. I don't think it matters if it was a shadow baby, an astral projection, a shadow fart.
Something. Yeah.
Mel's skin changing the wind. I don't know. I don't think it matters.
Skin changing the wind. At least you didn't say warg, so that's fine. She can skin change the wind if she wants to.
Warged the air. The hydrogen particles in the air. I don't know. Just mash them all together.
No. Okay, I think we're done. So what are we doing next?
Cat 5, and I guess that's where she goes back and tells Robb that everything is fucked. I don't remember.
Robb's not there. Robb's in the Westeros right now.
Well, I guess she goes back to Edmure and tells Edmure everything is fucked. That's all for me. Follow us on the Twitter. You really don't have to, I guess, but subscribe to the YouTube channel and like, comment on all that stuff to spread us around. We still do the SoundCloud stuff, so if you like that, spread that around and join our group, ASOIF/GOT discussions and theories.
Yes.
That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.